When we're asked to use unit analysis, all we're really doing is converting from one measurement to the other. So let's go ahead and take this first example. I want to convert 33 and a half years, which is my age right now, and I want to convert that into seconds, meaning I want to feel even older than I do sometimes. Your first goal should be to come up with sort of a plan, a path to take from there. So what I might do is on the side kind of think like, okay, well, I don't have a direct conversion, but I know I might start with years. And from years, I could figure out how many days there are. So I'm going to go years to days. Once I figure out days, well, I know how many hours there are in a day. I also know how many minutes there are in an hour, and then finally I can get to seconds where I want to end up. So I want to come up with that plan to start with. And that's key because sometimes your plan doesn't end up working out, and I'd rather find it at the beginning. Because some people try these and they say, well, I want to go years, I'm going to go years to months. And I say, okay, that's fine, there's 12 months in a year, but then what are you going to do from months to days? Because there's not a set number of days in a month. And they realize that plan's not going to work, so let's just go and erase that and stick with this original plan. So here's how I like to do my conversions. Start with what you're converting. We're going to make a little table. I'm going to go 33.5 years. I'm going to make this table. And this table is going to be filled with different columns, and each column is going to be a different conversion. Now you always want labels to flip-flop. So since I'm starting with years on top, go ahead and put years on the bottom. And following my plan over here, I'm going to convert years to days. And I know some of you are really technical and know all this. We're just going to keep it real simple. No leap years. Don't worry about any of that stuff. And just say in 1 year, there are 365 days. Now, be careful that those numbers end up in the right spot. Sometimes your one's on top. Sometimes your one is on the bottom. Just read the conversion to yourself and see if it makes sense. 365 days. To 1 year makes sense to me. If you had your numbers flip-flopped and you said 1 day is 365 years, tells you something went wrong, okay? So let's keep this chart going until we end up, or let me go back a second. So the reason we wanted to flip-flop labels, anything along the top of this chart we're going to multiply together. Anything along the bottom we're going to divide, including labels. So because I have the same label in the top and bottom, I can just cross those out. Let's continue this process and keep crossing out our labels until seconds are all that's left. So my next step in my path is going days to hours. So again, always flip-flop labels. So days are on bottom and then hours on top. And then that conversion is going to be in 1 day, there's 24 hours. And again, some of you technical people know that's not quite right, but we're just going to keep it simple. So cross out your days that are the same on top and bottom, and let's keep this going. Hours are on top, so let's put hours on bottom to minutes on top. That conversion is going to be in 1 hour. There are 60 minutes. Remember, check your numbers and ask yourself if that conversion makes sense. And one more step to do here. Minutes are on top, so put minutes on bottom and convert that to seconds. In 1 minute, there are 60 seconds, and cross out those minutes. If you look at the only label that's left, you've just got seconds, which is what we want to do. Again, this is the point where you'll want a calculator. All of those numbers along the top are going to be multiplied together. Anything along the bottom is going to be divided. The ones we don't really care about because they're just ones and who cares. But anything that wasn't a one, you'd want to divide that out. So go ahead and get out a calculator, do that multiplication to figure out how old I am when I'm 33 and a half years old. Use commas for me too because these numbers get pretty big pretty quickly. Looks like I came up with an answer of 1 billion. Whew, I'm over 1 billion seconds old. 1,056,456,000 seconds old. Let's go ahead and do one more together, and then I'll have you try that third one on your own, or you could just watch my work for it. So let's convert kilometers to inches. Again, start with sort of your plan of attack, your path. I don't know a direct conversion from kilometers to inches, but I do know kilometers to miles. That was one of those special conversions I gave you in class. Once I've crossed over from the metric system to our system, we can use hopefully things we've picked up in our lives along the way. I can convert miles into feet, and then I can convert feet into inches. So that's the path I'm going to take. Now there are several other paths you could take. So if you came up with something else that works out, you get the same answer, that's totally fine, but I'm going to stick with this plan. So again, start with what you're converting in the top of your chart. So 6.2, make sure you include labels, kilometers. And we're going to make this chart. Each column is going to be a different conversion. You always want your labels to flip-flop. Kilometers are on top, so start with kilometers on bottom. We're going to convert that into miles. From class or from your notes, you should be able to find that in 1 mile there are 1.61 kilometers, so approximately. So here's where you're seeing that number on bottom. Numbers on bottom will be divided when we're done. And make sure those numbers in the right spot. Make sure your conversion's a true statement. So cross out the labels that match up top to bottom, and let's keep going. Miles are on top, so let's flip miles to the bottom, and my plan said to do miles to feet. Who knows why, but for some reason in 1 mile there's 5,280 feet for, again, some crazy reason, but that's our conversion. So let's cross out this units that are the same top and bottom, and we should be able to do this in one more step. Feet are on top, so alternate, so feet go on bottom and then inches on top. In 1 foot, there are 12 inches. Again, double check that your conversion makes sense. If you put 1 inch on top and 12 feet on bottom, that's not a true statement, so fix it. So cross out your labels that are the same. If you notice, the only label left is inches. Any number along the top, multiply. So have out your calculators, and you can do this right now. 6.2, multiply that by 5,280, multiply that by 12. Without even pressing enter, just keep it going in your calculator, hit divided by 1.61. Anything along the bottom gets divided. You don't need parentheses. Once you finish that, the answer I came up with, I ended up with 243,000. Again, use commas for me to help me out. 9,900 or 2,004. No, let me try this again. 243,995, and then if I round, I have about 0.03 inches. Okay. If you want to pause the video and try that last one, go for it. Otherwise, my work will show up in a couple seconds. Be careful on that conversion. 1 cubic centimeter is the same thing as 1 milliliter, so that's how you're doing that first step right there. I came up with an answer of 0.042 liters. Hopefully you did too.